So right now, whether you're writing it down or you're speaking it out loud, you are predicting the programming. And I know that you want to explain why things haven't worked in the past or how you got here. But when you're dealing with another master manifester like myself, and you just got here, how the heck did you get a story already? And if you do have a story, why the heck would you choose that one when you could choose any story you want? Welcome to the Invincible CEO YouTube channel for anything and everything mindset to manifestation. My name is Dede Powerniak, and I am the Invincible CEO, and I'm here to help you make clear, concise, certain choices in the now moment so that when you make your choice for manifestation, there is no more doubt, fear, and wobble. Because all the techniques work, but the whole idea is, do you know what you chose? And are you willing to stay in that choice regardless of 3D circumstances? And how simple manifestation truly is, it's as simple as going into a restaurant and ordering off the menu with the assumption that everything is in the restaurant that's needed to make the food, cook the food, deliver the food, for you to be able to eat the food because it's on the menu. And we're here to tell you that everything is on the menu. Our topic today is instant revision, how to revise instantly regardless of 3D circumstances. And you want to avoid the 3D circumstances trap and revise like a pro. And I love revision. We're going to get really clear on what it is, how to do it, but most importantly, what can you do when something's happening right in front of you, and how can you revise instantly? So if you have any questions that you would like answered, you can post them in the comments. And so for me, manifestation is really simple. It doesn't matter whether you call it mindset or you call it manifestation. You have to have a certain mindset for manifestation. But what I find with my clients, and I've had a lot of wonderful sessions this week, if you can map things out, if you can be aware of what you've chosen, and you're not going to pay attention to 3D circumstances, but I know sometimes that is a lot to ask, especially when 3D circumstances seem like they're laughing in your face, they're frustrating you, or maybe you just can't seem to get out of a certain state of being that you feel that if you stay in a certain state of being, then you won't be able to manifest, right? And these are all stories. So first and foremost, manifestation is mindset jacked up, right? Mindset is what we would call for our logical, rational, step-by-step type of individuals. There's nothing wrong with mindset. Mindset is a very human way of doing things. But manifestation is like the difference between taking the steps and taking the elevator. Both the steps and the elevator are going to get you to your location, especially let's say it's a 100-story building. But what the elevator is going to do is going to get you there a lot faster. So that's what manifestation, the difference is. And that's why we use foundation of repetition and actually engaging in the 3D. Are you willing to do the mindset version while the manifestation version takes flight, right? If I want to change my body and lose 30 pounds, am I willing to start doing what needs to be done on the human level, right? Maybe changing what I eat, going to the gym. Not that that causes anything, because you're the only cause. But when you start to play around in the 3D world, when you start to be what Abraham Hicks calls a cooperative component, that you can start to say from your vantage point as the human being that you started the journey, you're doing what would be expected of the human being, it helps you with the mindset. Because when those thought echoes come in that says, no, you're not, no, it's not happening, you always have that fallback to fall back on. So that's why I always encourage doing the basic level stuff while the magical stuff, because there are things that I've manifested that I had no access to, that really there wasn't any physical thing for me to do to kind of head that on. But nonetheless, when I chose things to keep me in the mindset, to keep me just feeling amazing, because if feeling amazing is what I'm going to feel when the thing actually shows up, feeling amazing is like that elevator, right, that we talked about this past weekend with 0 point. So what I would suggest first and foremost is that you kind of take stock to what your reality is like right now. We call that the jump off. And it's just sort of like the facts, right? As an investigator, just the facts, no emotion tied to it. If someone were to come in and do an audit of your life, whether it was financial, relationship wise, it would be just like boom, 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 down the list, all the facts. And if you were to come to me for a nutrition plan, a personalized nutrition plan, we have 30 different points of focus, from scale weight to measurements to water intake, oxygenation, how are you sleeping, what's your energy, do you have crashes? So we take a full intake when you start, because it's those beautiful points of focus, because you know where you are and you're not going to be there very long. As you move through this process, and I always say, give me 3 months and your life will be changed. So as we go through this process, not only are we changing the physical 3D reality, but really we're never changing it. We're just moving the consciousness from one reality to another. So let me give you some finite examples and analogies, because I know that helps. So let's say you woke up yesterday and you took your weight, and whatever it is for you, but I'm just going to use 155 pounds, right? You get on the scale and you're 155 pounds. And you went about your day and you were a cooperative component. Maybe you went to the gym, worked out, maybe did a little cardio, didn't necessarily eat better, but you didn't eat worse, right? So it was sort of like you got the exercise, but maybe the eating's not there. And when you got up this morning, for some reason, you took your weight again and you saw that a pound was gone. Now, right away, what the mind's going to do, the mind that becomes aware, because you're the awareness. You're the one who's aware of all of the template. And your mind becomes aware now that you have 2 points of focus. You were 155 yesterday, but now you're 154. And right away, the conscious mind wants to make a story. And it wants you to figure out, what did you do? So let's say then you decide today, you're going to do the same exact thing you did yesterday, to the T. At least you think it is. And then tomorrow when you wake up and you see that the scale doesn't move, it sends you into this story rabbit hole of trying to figure it out. And what did you do wrong? And that's what I find that most people are doing in their manifestation journey. But we're going to get manifestation really simple and revision really simple. And I'm going to give you examples. What really happened in that analogy that I just gave you is that you, as the awareness, you as the breath, remember, you're no longer the characters. You're the breath that not only animates the character's body, but it animates the whole reality. All the people, all the experiences, the movement through space and time, it's all you. And when you woke up in the reality where you were 155, you were looking through the 155 version of you. You were looking through her eyes. You were animating her body or his body. And you went around thinking that what you were physically doing was going to change your body. And because you did some things that made your conscious mind play along, well, we did these things, the next day when you were just got here, you're the breath, you animated the body that was a pound lighter. It wasn't what you did because you just got here. You, the awareness in this now moment, wasn't in yesterday. The version of you that's in your yesterday is in your yesterday. This version of you just woke up in this reality and stepped on a scale. That's all you did. So you didn't change your body by losing weight or burning fat. You decided, like, you moved house. So just imagine you live in a row of homes, and let's say they're townhomes, so they're connected. It would be no different than going to bed in one townhome and waking up in the one next door, even though you didn't physically move out. You just decided to inhabit and animate the body that lives next door in that reality. So you're not a body moving through time and space. You are the breath or the awareness that jumps from body to reality to reality. And I know it seems like this is a lot to take in, but this is where, when we kind of use this as the foundation for revision, whether we're choosing to revise something that we believed is our past, you're not changing what it is that that version of you did. You're just saying in that space and time, you no longer inhabited that version. You inhabited the version that made another choice, a different choice, because we're going to stay away from better or worse. We're going to stay away from duality. And it's just a different choice. If we use a buffet as an example, and your subconscious mind is all the food that's already in the buffet, it's already impressed. You don't have to tell the buffet people what food to put in the buffet. You just show up. You just got there. You just got there, and your job is to grab a plate, be aware of all the options that are available to you. What you do is you make a choice. Not only do you make a choice to choose the food that you're going to put on your plate, it's followed by inspired action of the version of you that then scoops it and puts it on the plate. But the version of you that chose and the version of you that put it on the plate are two different things. It's like they're one right after the other, like connecting the dots, because the you that chose was the chooser. The you that moved and put it on the plate, that was their one job through all of eternity, was to take the choice and put it into action and start to make it happen. And then the you that walks over to the table is a whole different you. And the version of you that sits down is a whole different of you. And the version that picks up the silverware to eat is a different version of you. And the version of you that actually brings it to your mouth. So each one of these versions of you, it's like if you think about, I remember when we were kids and like the little Post-it note books, if you drew a little stick figure and each frame, every little piece of Post-it note, you moved the little guy along the bottom so that if you actually fanned the bottom, it looks like the little guy's moving. That's what's actually happening here. And it's happening so fast that you, as the breath, are jumping from one frame to another, to another, to another, to another, to another. So now, when we go to 0 point for revision, we are pulling out of all realities. And now, when you're sitting here and you've zeroed out, you get to choose, just like, think of it as our example at the buffet, that you finished everything you chose for your first round. Now, what you chose for your first round is what you chose for your first round. Maybe you took a couple bites and you didn't finish it all because you were just sampling, right? Maybe you had 5 different things on there. And you now want to go and get more. So you don't even have to take that dirty plate back. You're going to go there and get a brand new clean plate. That's zeroing out, right? So I want you to start paying attention during your day. How many different ways do you zero out? But you may never have thought about that before. And when you go back for round 2 at the buffet, you don't go, oh my God, I can't believe I made those choices. They were the worst choices in the world. How could I have ever made those choices? What was I thinking making those choices? You wouldn't do that. You're excited to go get a new plate and make new choices. And that's what every now moment is. The choices you make now in the second round of going to the buffet have nothing to do with the first one, even if in your second round you chose exactly the same things again. The first one didn't cause the second one. And if you chose something in your first round and you chose totally different things in your second round, the first one, it wasn't because you had those things the first time that you're not choosing them the second time, because the now moment doesn't need a story. All that you're doing is choosing a different plate of food. But our mind that wants to be a narrator, it's not its job to narrate, because your action, you putting different food or the same food on the round 2 plate, is the story. It doesn't need to be said out loud. You don't have to go to everyone saying, oh, I'm picking something totally different this time, or I'm going to pick exactly the same thing. It will be obvious to you. You don't need the words. So with manifestation, the longer you can stay out of thought, because you can choose without having to use words or language. And the more you start moving through time and space, leaving the words alone, because once you start using words, then the conscious mind comes in and it wants to connect the story. And it turns into the narrator. And it's not supposed to be the narrator. That's where it gets complicated. So if you stop narrating or explaining or justifying or classifying or qualifying your choice, and just know that every now moment is brand new. You're brand new in every now moment. You just got to that now moment. Oh, and now this one, and now this one, now moment, now moment, now moment, now moment. And every now moment is perfect for what it is. And when you go to that buffet, there's so many versions of you where you choose the food or you don't. And as you walk by, they're both right there. The version of you that chooses the mashed potatoes and the version of you that walks by it. And in that split second of choice, the version of you that picks the mashed potatoes, that version of the two jump in and get to do the action. And that's really powerful. And the other version of you stands back, but it branches off a whole other reality where you didn't choose the mashed potatoes in that moment. Because the version of you that chooses mashed potatoes has one job through all time and space. When there's mashed potatoes to be chosen, that version of you will come, and so will the other one that doesn't choose it. And that's the other one's job. Through the whole time and space, the version of you that could have chosen the mashed potatoes but doesn't shows up with the version of you that does. It is and it isn't. You do and you don't. They're right there. And you, because you're the operant power, you're the chooser, you're the God of your reality, you get to choose between the two choices, which one you're going to breathe life into. And here's the thing where you can prove to yourself that even if a choice was made, by the time you get to the table and you sit down, you, the sitting down version of you that's about to eat, can choose not to eat the mashed potatoes, because the version of you that chose them only chose to put them on the plate. The version that chose them isn't the version that eats them. And you see how when we talk about a collective consciousness, it's not about the other people. It's about the collective consciousness of you and all the different choices, and how there's no causality between the version of you that puts it on the plate and the version of you that's sitting there, whether she or he eats it or not. And the version that puts it on the plate is not upset with the version that chooses to eat it or not to eat it, because they only have one job. And that version where that you're sitting, and then the version that takes a scoop, that one's done, because now another set comes up. Are you going to take another scoop? Yes and no. They're right there. So if putting the mashed potatoes on the plate isn't the causality of you eating them, they're there for you, but you still have to make that final choice. Then you that's here in this now moment, in this story, are not bound by any choice that this version of you who just got here, right? You just arrived at the buffet. You just got here. But because you have a mind that wants to bring that story to you and say, oh, you made this choice, you screwed up, and now you have to fix it because there's causality that if you did this, then all of that is being caused now and it's all your fault. You can't win in that kind of mindset. That is not a conspire for you universe. And that's why we pull back in 0 point and we zero out. We get a fresh plate. We get a fresh piece of paper that has nothing on it. And you can do that first thing in the morning, or you can do it multiple times during the day. Because if someone comes to me, and there have been times this has happened, and I'm sure it may have happened to you, where someone comes to me and said, you did this thing. I saw you do it. And I was nowhere near there. It wasn't me, right? Because your first thing is like, do I have someone that looks like me? I wasn't there. But they swear up and down that you did. And this is why in the now moment, when you have different thoughts, either within your echo chamber or different individuals here wanting to control the narrative in the now moment, you have to know who you are. You have to know what reality you're in. So let me give you an example of this. This happened on Saturday, and I shared this on Sunday in the training. After the training, a whole bunch of friends got together at a friend's house. And when we got there, I was talking to the one friend's wife, because when we were together on New Year's Eve, her husband was like blown away that we've never had a birthday party for me, because we're always getting together for his birthday party, his wife's birthday party, occasionally my partner's birthday party, but not me. So he made a promise to me on New Year's Eve that we're going to have a birthday party. My birthday was last month. So this is the first time I really got to see him in person. And I said to his wife first that I'm going to tease him about it, right? And she goes, he doesn't have any memory of New Year's Eve. So he's not going to remember anything. Now, that's her reality, and that was her experience with him on whatever other topics they must have talked about, or when she talks about things, that's how he shows up. That's how she's creating him. And I now was just offered that story, but as the operant power, I can say, oh, well, I guess he's not going to remember, and take her word for it. Or now, if you know me in birthdays, especially mine, that's an unacceptable answer. That's totally unacceptable. So I said to her, he'll remember what we talked about. He may forget everything else about that night, but I promise you, he will remember talking to me about my birthday party. So when he came in, now he wasn't there for that conversation. And when I started to have the conversation with him, because this is instant revision, she's saying, no, this is the reality. And I'm saying, no, it's not. This is what it is. And because I said it, because I was clear, I was certain, and I was concise, I'm commanding my reality into being, and I'm allowing the time and space for it to show up. He comes in and sit down. And I said, oh, we were just talking about the New Year's Eve party. And he starts to laugh. And I said, I know you know. Now, do you see how I was leading him? But I didn't say what. I said, I know you know what we talked about. And I know you know what you promised me. And he started laughing. And he said, your birthday party. I'm like, my birthday party. And she was over on the couch, like floored. But this is when you're the operant power, when you have this beautiful now moment and an offering is made that is not to your liking, to not what your reality, what you know your reality to be, you have the final say in that now moment. But I was very calm. I was very clear. I was very centered, because offerings are allowed to be made. They're made all the time, whether it's from another person, a text, an email, echoes in my echo chamber. There's always offerings being offered. But just because it's offered, it's not you yet. So if it's not you yet, you don't have to revise. If you just got here and your mind is saying you did that thing 2 days ago, 2 years ago, 20 years ago, and because of that, all this crappy stuff has happened. The first thing I said, I just got here. I literally just got here. So that was another version of me, not me. And I don't put out the fires of other versions. Going back to the conversation at the party on Saturday, because she made an offering, and there's no doubt in my mind, that is how he showed up for her. If she had a conversation or other people came in and had conversations, I'm sure that's exactly how he showed up. But I didn't see any of that. I wasn't witness to any of that. And in that moment, I decided how I wanted my reality to play out in front of me, not later on, not tomorrow, when he walked in. Are you guys getting this? Do you have any questions about this? This is so powerful. Because if you look at the 3D right now, right, anything that's physical that you can touch and you can say is already physically manifested, what I'm going to suggest, and I've suggested this many times on my videos, that the 3D reality is just a bunch of props. You're on a stage, and this is a play, right? Shakespeare said it, all the world's a stage and everyone's an actor. So here's this, what you would call my phone. And I'm very excited to tell you that I didn't have to go buy this today. It's a default part of my 3D reality. It is a default prop that will show up until I command it differently. Now, I have other phones. They were valuable until they weren't. Some of them I've traded in, and others I still have. But nonetheless, this is the active phone. I expect when I wake up in the morning or I walk into a room, I expect it to be there. My mind knows that I expect it to be there, And here's the crazy thing. This isn't the original phone that I bought. It's a facsimile of it. It's a duplicate. Yet I never lost that phone. I didn't have to go get it again. But you never have played with any prop the same one twice. The car that you drive, every time you go to that car, it's a brand new version of the version you expect to be there. And this is the really cool thing. Let's say, and I know my partner's a detailer, but and this wouldn't be good for business, but you could do this. If your car is a hot mess, right? It needs to be vacuumed and cleaned and so forth. All you got to do is when you start to remember your car in your imagination, which everything is real, really imagined, imaginally real. If you remember your car the way that it was, it will always show up a hot mess. But if you have one time, whether it was brand new or you got it cleaned and detailed, where it looked brand new, and when you think of your car, when you envision your car, that's the version that you see, over time, it will show up that way. It can either show up automatically, or if it's more normal and natural yet for you where you are on your manifestation journey, where it would be too much if it just showed up detailed, that would kind of like be upsetting to you. Your mind's not going to do that. So you might win a free detail, or maybe you get a new next door neighbor who does it and will do your car. It will show up so that you don't feel threatened or scared, like what's going on here. But when you start to move in your manifestation journey, and we were sharing some of the things in the 2-day event, even the manifestation stuff that's here on YouTube is low-key stuff. It's low-key because you can have things appear that, let's say you lost a ring, and even though you might be in the house where you know for a fact that you never had the ring in this house, your mind can produce the ring in the house. The moment that you start to see it on your hand, you start to see it in your drawer, wherever you would normally put it, it will show up. Your subconscious cannot say no to you. It is a photocopying machine. What you put in there and hit enter and make the copy, it has to make the copy. The reason why it doesn't show up or your manifestations are hit or miss is because if we go back to our example at the buffet, that there's a version of you that puts the mashed potatoes on the plate and the version of you that doesn't. You, on the topic of your manifestation, whatever it is, whether it's an SP or money or job or whatever your thing is, both the is and isn't are there. And if it seems like your manifestations are hit or miss, it's because you as the breath are going back and forth between the version that has it and the version that doesn't. That's all that's all hit or miss is you're embodying the version of it that is the miss. And once again, once you realize that, you pull back. That's why when you make a choice, like I did in my example with the friend and his wife, I literally in that moment told my subconscious, because it's already impressed. You do not have to impress the subconscious mind. I, the conscious chooser, impress it. I impress it, but it is like a buffet. It has all the choices ready to go. I could have said anything just like that. And right away, that would be the reality that I'm in. That's what instant manifestation is. And I want to give you another story of instant revision. And this is why, if there's going to be a story, you create one that serves you, because it works the same way if you're telling a story where one does not. The same group of friends, we went to a casino, and I have an assumption that I always win direct hits on roulette 29 and 32, to the point where it actually shows up in my dreams. I may not always put chips down in my dreams. I remember the one time I was playing roulette in my dreams, and it was yellow softballs instead of chips in that reality, but nonetheless. And 29 and 32 are right next to each other on the board where you put your money down. So we got invited to go with this group, and we had $100 to play with. However we wanted to spend it, that's all we were going to spend. But I always get direct hits on 29 and 32. I also get a whole lot of indirect hits on 29 and 32. But I don't leave until I get my direct hit. So as the night was going on, I was playing around. I'm noticing 29 and 32 coming out. Even when I'm not playing it, I go over and I have corner hits, I have side-to-side hits, but I hadn't had my direct hit. And I was playing all night long. And when we decided to meet up and have a bite to eat, we kind of checked in with each other, my partner and I, like, where are you? I think he had $20 left and I had $40 left. And we were about a half hour before we were going to leave. And he's like, well, at least we still have our money. And I'm like, I'm glad that he said that, because it's like, wait a minute, who am I? I'm not going to leave here with less money than I came with, because I always have a direct hit on 29 and 32. It's like tradition. It's assumption. It's who I am. And I thought to myself, in this moment, I know we're going to drive home. And while we're driving home, we're going to have a conversation. So what conversation do I want to have? Do I want to have that I lost the rest of my money? Do I want to have the conversation, well, at least I have $40? Do I want the conversation where I got $100 back? Or do I want the freaking conversation that I have a direct hit on 29 and 32? So I said to him, I'll be right back. He's like, okay. I went back over, sat down, was still able to bet on the one that was going, put 29 down, boom, direct hit. I'm like, this is wonderful. My mind knows I'm going to be leaving in a half hour. Put the chip down on 32, boom, direct hit. Instant manifestation. Because I decided what conversation I wanted to have going home. This is where, if there's going to be stories, you don't forget who you are while you're in the middle of the story. You know what you've chosen. I don't even have to choose it anymore. It's always chosen for me. If I'm going to the casino, you would think I'd go there a whole lot more. Can't even tell you the last time I was at one prior to that. But it's a fun thing. I'm not going there to force it to happen, to make it happen. While it's spinning, while I put my bet, I can't change the bet. The ball's doing the spinning thing. I'm in 0 point, breathing as the version of me that hits on 29 and 32. That's how powerful this is. And at any time, you can change the narrative. You are the operant power. But you have to know that when you make a choice, and I love this because it really worked well as a mom, but also I kind of go with the whole idea of the quote, lions do not care of the opinions of sheep, being the Leo that I am, that when I make a choice, the choice is my choice, and I don't need to explain myself to anyone. And if I have to explain myself to you, you're not part of the reality that knows what I've chosen and understands that what I've chosen, and I'm always going to get what I've chosen. So I'm not going to expend any energy explaining myself. If you're going to question my choice, you can sit back and watch it happen. Like, that's how powerful this is, to the point where before I decided to have children, I didn't want to have children. But when I did, I'm a kind of go big or go home kind of girl. I decided I would have 4 and they would be all girls. And I had 4 and the first 4 were all girls. And on the way from the 4th ultrasound, from the door of the ultrasound to the door of my car, pushing my 3rd daughter, I had a thought, because now the loop was complete. I closed out the loop, had my 4th daughter in my belly. It would have been nice to have a son. And my subconscious is like, already impressed, hold my beer, you got it. And several years later, my son was born. Thank goodness I didn't say twins. Thank goodness I didn't say multiple sons, just one more. Because why? I'm the upper power. Or as my friends like to say that grew up with me, I'm a spoiled brat. I always get what I want. I always get what I want once I get very clear on what it is that I want. And I know that if it seems like there's time and space between what I thought I asked for and it's showing up, I wasn't very clear, because I have so many times when I've gotten really clear in the now moment, regardless of 3D circumstances, because all of this is props. And if I look around my room, and I just got here today, not one thing in this room did I buy today. yet I have total and complete access to every single prop, whether it's mine or not, because it's here. Because all the other versions of me left it behind for me to decide whether I just leave it where it is or I play with it. That's how abundant you are. That we can sit around right now, just take a look at where you are. You just got here and you didn't have to get any of it because it's the default. It's the basic programming that when you're where you are, that will show up for you. This is how abundant and how much that no matter where you step, there will be a template for you to place your next foot on. Whether you walk out your door, whether you walk down to the playground, whether you go shopping, it's all there. Remember, the sun always rises just for you. That supermarket down the block is there just for you. All the concert goers, when you go to a concert, are there for you to get the concert experience. And now, if you, because you can revise after the fact, which what it seems after the fact, but you have no past. You have no past, because even if you say you got here this morning, you can now zero out totally and say you just got here. And you haven't chosen anything yet other than to sit here and listening to the live that we're doing right now. And why you want to keep bringing in the yuck of a version of you that you're not. You didn't do any of it. You didn't have the conversation. You get the echo of that version's conversation, or you get an echo of the actions that another version of you took. But just like the version of you sitting at the table with the mashed potatoes on the plate, just because another version of you put it there doesn't mean you have to eat it. And that's what this is. We are now going to let time and space be, because your manifestations aren't coming in through time and space. That's so low level. You're much more advanced than that now. Why? Because I just said so. That's how it works. Unless you want to choose to be opposite of that, then knock your socks off. But you are so advanced as manifestors, because it's not time and space, it's awareness. Right now, what are you aware of? You can be aware of anything, and all you got to do is command it, right? I commanded that I was not going to have a conversation in the car ride home because I knew there was going to be one. Predictive programming. I picked ahead of time the conversation that I wanted to have authentically on the ride home, and I saw myself talking about my direct hits. All I had to do was walk myself over to the roulette wheel. I didn't even have to do that. But I'm in the casino, so that's what I want to do. I want to have the experience of the realization of what it is that I've commanded. And the only reason why you don't move in inspiration of what you've chosen is because you're still having all of these other versions of you that show up as echoes in your echo chamber, because you're the operant power and they're just offering you stuff. If you quiet those old ones down, you'll start to hear the echoes of the versions of you that made different choices that better suit where you are now and who you are. So that version of you that didn't play the lottery that night your number came out, well, guess what? There's a version of you that did. If you're going to identify with one right now because it's an offering, if the one says, you screwed up, you should have played that night, and you go, yeah, I should have played that night. Well, you've just put on her meat suit or his meat suit, and you're animating that version when there's the equal and opposite right next to her or him that did play it. You just don't have the memory echoes of that version, but they're just as real and just as valid. Just like I said with my friend's wife, that what she was saying, there's no doubt in my mind that's what she experienced. But that's not what I chose to experience. And she was blown away. Because I led the witness, because I gave the script, because the other people in your reality don't have free will, because you're the operant power that made a choice. So that means everyone and everything is part of the unfolding. Do you get that? So when you're revising, you're not revising to change an old choice. You got to use the analogy of the buffet and the plate. You could fill that plate up, go sit down, and totally decide, I don't want any of it. But your mind will come in with stories going, oh, it can't be wasteful. That's not what a good girl or a good boy does. You can't do that. Think of all the people somewhere else that could have that food. Like, that's what happens, and it makes you doubt your choices. It's your bed, you made it, lie in it. No, take the freaking sheets off and put new sheets on and make it again. Like, there's nothing set in stone, not even stuff set in stone or set in stone anymore when you are next level manifestors. When 3D circumstances are happening, right? I'm going to share another story. I have a client that has a condo down in Hollandale Beach, Florida. And from time to time, I use the condo because I have clients down there and they want to see me in person. And it's literally blocks from the beach. So I'm just so thrilled that I get to be there. So when I first started going, I went there twice and everything was perfect. And the third time I went, my partner came with me. And while we were there, I think we were there just for maybe 4 or 5 days, maybe about halfway through. It was in January and the air conditioning unit just stopped. I mean, it was on, but it wasn't making things cool. So I was very thankful that it wasn't like, July, but it still got warm. So I let her know. And, that if someone wants to come and repair it while we're here, I'd be more than happy. Just let me know when to be there to let them in. And what happened was we ended up staying another day or two, and then we had to go. So the understanding was somebody would come after we were gone. So the loop was kind of open in my mind because your mind will hold, it's like you're putting a TV show on pause, right? That it wasn't closed out. In my mind, it wasn't fixed. But then again, it didn't need to be because I was leaving. So I hadn't gone back in for a couple of years, and I went back last July. And I got down there, and I was going to be down there a little over a week. Just was pure vacation. And I was down there by myself. And it was like maybe the second or third day in, the air conditioning stops working. Now it's in the middle of July, so I was aware of it a lot sooner. And I texted her and said, oh, the air conditioner is on the fritz. And her response back to me was, it must be you. It only happens when you're there. And I went, huh. Now here's where the revision came in. Because this was my 4th time there, and only one other time was there an issue. But the other 2 times that I was there by myself, I never had an issue, and I'm there now. So I realized, because in my mind that loop wasn't closed, and the default was the last time I was there, it wasn't working. My mind believed that's what I wanted to replay again, because now I'm on a loop. And when she said to me, I'll have someone come over, but it must be my doing because I'm there, I went, wait a minute. The last time my partner was there, but he's not here now. So here's my revision. And it was a very quick fix. If my mind thinks that I want this to be happening and he's not here, and it wasn't me because all the other times it worked, it must be him and he's not here, therefore it must work. And I went to the beach. And when I came back, because of what I revised, because of what I've chosen, that when I'm here by myself, it works perfectly. And I came back. Nobody needed to come out. It was working perfectly because I left the reality where it wasn't working. I refused to continue to breathe life in that. Went, did something else, didn't give it a second thought while I was gone because I knew what I chose, that when I come back, it's going to work because I'm there by myself. And went and did something else that I enjoyed. And when I came back, it worked. What I then did was, once it was working again, I closed out the loop by saying, no matter if I'm here by myself, with my partner, or however many other people, every time I'm here, it works perfectly. So that way, that's the revision. That's closing out the loop. So your mind will let you know when you go and take something off pause, whether it was 5 minutes ago or 3 years ago or 30 years ago. It's exactly just like a TV show. Wherever you paused it, it kind of picks up with the template of that. And that's all. There's nothing ever wrong. It's just what is believed by the subconscious should be the active template, just like when you wake up in the morning, the stuff in your room is the stuff in your room. So I'm going to share another client of mine, a story, and I know I've shared this on the channel, but I have no idea what video it's in, where she was a night school client of mine when I was teaching night school, but also a personal training client. And we were having a session, and she said the weirdest thing happened, that she wears glasses. It's just her and her husband in the house. And he was already asleep because he gets up early. And when she did some reading, so she was done reading, she was ready for bed. She turned the light off, took her glasses off, and went to put them on the nightstand, but her hand missed the nightstand, and the glasses fell to the ground on the carpet. And then she scratched her hand when she did it. And also, she said that when she went to bend down and retrieve the glasses off the floor, she almost fell out of bed. So, and she had to turn the light back on. So it was she was made very aware and very conscious of all this was going on. So she said, now here's the strange thing. She said she woke up the next morning, went to reach for her glasses, and they weren't there, but she had the scratch. She remembered what happened. So she thought, did I not pick them off the floor? No, I almost fell out of bed. And so she looks on the floor, they're not there. She said that her husband had already left for work, but it would make no sense for him to touch her glasses. So she thought, this is really strange. And then she said to me, do you know where I ended up finding them? And I said back to her, probably in a place that is the second most populated place that you leave your glasses if they weren't on your nightstand, right? If the nightstand's the number one place. And she said, absolutely, it was on the island in the kitchen. How did you know that? Because you don't wake up in the same reality. You wake up in one very similar to it. And if you start to be very aware, you can see that things aren't always where you place them. And that happens, like you're like, oh, how did this get here? Or I just put my keys, where did my keys or my phone go? Your mind is showing you that you're not in one consistent 3D reality. And the more that you're awake and aware and it doesn't scare you or bother you or frustrate you, the more your mind will up-level you to different types of manifestation that you might not even dream is possible right now. So I said to her, do a 30-day experiment. And I was going to do one too. So my keys, my keychain, either I bring it up and I put it in my purse, or I leave it downstairs on the table. And at that time, leaving it downstairs on the table was more prevalent than putting it in my purse. So I decided for my 30 days that I would put it in my purse and make sure before I went to bed. And I wanted to see how many of the 30 days would it end up downstairs on the table because it was more prevalent. And she did the experiment with her glasses. And 1/3 of the time, my keys ended up in a different place other than where I put them in my purse. And not every single time were they actually on the table downstairs. They'd end up in some weird, strange place, but we found them. The only way to test this is to test it. And that's why it's not that which is exact, it's that which is like, and close enough that you might go a little bit of cognitive dissonance. You might go, oh, huh. But not necessarily enough for you to question your reality. But that's all that's ever happening because there is no out there. This is all within your consciousness. So all manifestation comes down to is something really, really simple. Which version of you, which eyes are you looking out of? Which ears are you hearing out of? Which nose are you smelling out of? Which mouth are you tasting from? Which hands are you feeling, right? Which feet of yours are touching the floor? Because if you just got here, your plate's empty. You could put anything on it right now. Why would you bring the BS of some unwanted reality and bring it here? So when I'm doing my sessions, I had many today. Very quickly, when you're working with me one-on-one, you do not state what the old reality is unless the old reality is you want more of it. Because right here, right now, you're a multimillionaire. How do I know? because I said so. One of my favorite techniques as a mom, because I said so, right? I don't have to explain my reality to anyone. You're a multimillionaire. All you have to do is choose. Choose it and don't wobble. And when you talk with me, we'll have multimillionaire discussions. Because right now, if you were to say that's not your reality, but maybe you have 5,000 in your bank account, well, right now you can't prove it. Just like right now you can't prove that you're a multimillionaire or you're not. Both of them are in superposition with each other. They are and they aren't. So if you can't prove one or the other, or we can even say the last time you ate something, you can't prove to me what you ate, but you know that you ate it, you know you had the experience of it, but you can't prove it. When you can't prove what you ate or you didn't eat or what your bank account is or what it's not, what it comes down to is pulling out into 0 point and choosing again, choosing differently, and leave the 3D alone. And if you choose that you're a multimillionaire, but you're still behaving as the $5,000 in your account then your subconscious doesn't take you at the words, it takes you at the state of being that you are. And if you say, well, I can't buy things a multimillionaire can, yes, you can. Close your eyes and do it in your imagination. Do it in your imagination until it is as real to you as it would be if you did it out here. Because that's how your subconscious knows what you've chosen, because it's all impressed. It's all on the buffet. It's all on the menu. All you got to do is pick. Pick and don't wobble. Pick and don't fuss that you can't see it here. Know that when you least expect it, it will shift. It will shift just like that. Because you are revising every single now moment. And tomorrow never, ever comes. But what will be tomorrow will be the now. So what story, if there's going to be one, will you be telling later on today, right? Going back to my example at the casino. I knew it beyond a doubt we would be in the car driving home talking. That was a given. That was an assumption. Where I chose was, what would the conversation be? Not because I was wishing, hoping, and wanting it to happen, but because I still had the time and space to allow it to unfold. So that would be the conversation that I had. So now, because it was a future moment that would become the now moment when we were in the car. And all I did was pause for a second and heard my voice talking and heard my partner responding as he was driving. Saw it exactly how it was. And what were we going to do with the extra spoils? Because we left with more money than we came with. Because that's what this is here for. Unless you want the experience of losing it all, there's nothing wrong with that. It's no right or wrong. It's just a different experience. And when you start letting go of duality of right and wrong, up and down, in and out, this is how it should be, and you just choose a different experience, everything changes. Everything changes. So right now, whether you're writing it down or you're speaking it out loud, you are predicting the programming. And I know that you want to explain why things haven't worked in the past or how you got here. But when you're dealing with another master manifester like myself, and you just got here, how the heck did you get a story already? And if you do have a story, why the heck would you choose that one when you could choose any story you want? Because this is just a template. And it's what your mind thinks should be there. And all you got to do is flood your consciousness with another choice, like you would if you actually did go and get it or buy it or experience it, because you can't mock your subconscious mind. It knows when you're really having an experience and when you're hoping that experience would show up. Hoping, wishing, and wanting are dream stealers. They're manifestation stealers. They're wish fulfilled stealers. I do not wish. I do not want. I do not hope. I command. And I challenge you to do the same thing. And when I command, I do not wobble. If I go and tell the dog to lay down, I expect the dog to lay down. Command your reality. And it's okay if in the beginning, as you're transitioning, it takes a little bit of repetition in the beginning. It's okay. Give yourself the grace and space. But when you truly can have anything you want, and all you have to do is let go of what's not wanted and speak about it as if it is, it will happen so fast that when you make a different choice, you're not changing or overriding the choice that you made. You're no longer the animator of the reality. But even in that reality, there's no butterfly effect. Your mind created all of that. So where you are right now is all of creation. So either you're it or you're not. And the moment that you think of it, tag, you're it. No tag backs. It's you. Allow yourself to feel fulfilled in the knowing that you have everything, you are everything, and this is your dream. And what a powerful, wonderful manifester you truly are. And I want to thank you again for being here, and for sharing your time, for your amazing questions. Remember, you're all master manifestors. It is what you say it is because you said so, and that's enough. Because why? You're enough, because you're the operant power. All right, guys, until next time, happy manifesting and enjoy.